Okay, I guess we're live now. So hello everybody. My name is Ashley Fernandez. I'm the chairman of XCBS, Xavier EM Lyon Business School, and I welcome all of you to this panel. Thank you for being here. I'm sure that our the people listening to this conversation and exchange will benefit from your incredible insight. Um, Before we go further, I would like to introduce our moderator, Arup Sohn, who is an expert in business strategy, sports marketing, and new media, a sports business consultant to events as large as FIFA World Cups to grassroots programs, operating in sports like swimming, sailing, football, and other Olympic disciplines. Arup was part of the local organizing committee of the FIFA Under-17 World Cup India 2017 as head of marketing, and he managed a team of 45 full-time staff and more than 200 volunteers. The 17th edition of the tournament ended up raising the most sponsorship money to date and being the highest ever attended FIFA event and youth competition. He is the first Indian to hold a master's degree in sports business administration from New York University, which shows that no one is perfect. Arup, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being the moderator. And once again, thank you all for your participation. And on behalf of XCBS, I really thank you.
Arup, appreciate it, Ashley. Thank you. Honestly, our panelists deserve, all the introductions. Thank you all for being here. We have a lovely lineup. We're missing one panelist for now, but what I'll do is I'll just introduce you guys, and we'll try and jump right into the conversation of where global sports is headed. So, just in no particular order, we have Pranav Marva, who's the CEO of Marva Sports, with us, a lawyer with a PG in sports management. Pranav has nearly a decade of experience in the Indian startup ecosystem with 35 plus investments. As a CEO, Pranav is a driving force behind Marva Sports and looking to put India on the global map of sport innovation one step at a time. Welcome, Pranav. We have Jaya Sharma, a well-known former cricketer, Indian women of the Indian women's cricket team, having been given the title of Lady Sehwag or jaunty roads in her career, with professional experience of 22 years, having played for the country for several of them. Her level of commitment and passion for the game can be observed. She started at the young age of 12 when women cricket was in a budding stage, and retired from all formats of the game in 2015 after BCCI took over control of women's cricket. She was an integral part of the World Cup runner-up squad in South Africa 2005. Welcome, Jaya. And just to add a little bit to that, to add another dimension into her knowledge base, she started doing a lot of research in the mind conditioning space as an inherently important aspect in the advancement of the game of cricket. Consequently, she took certain professional courses in the field of neuro-linguistic programming as well. Maureen with us? Yes, she is. Excellent. We have Maureen Reed, I hope I've pronounced that right, who's the head of student affairs and recruitment at the Tony Parker Academy, based on an innovative concept mixing passion, studies, and employment. The Tony Parker Academy allows passionate young people to build their life project with the promise of a job at the completion of their studies. Maureen is in charge of recruiting new academy students, as well as guaranteeing the program quality. For those of you who don't know who Tony Parker is, he's a French basketball legend. If you Google him, you'll find him in a Spurs jersey. We have Jonathan. Jonathan, I'm not going to pronounce your last name because you're going to tell us how to pronounce that. But Jonathan, Jonathan's a co-founder of Join and Yakar. He shares, I think he's probably the youngest on this panel. He shares a daily life between Join and the non-profit Yakar, communication between the threads of these two activities. Well, don't let the young part deviate, you guys. Join has just raised a few $1 million for this first round to develop a SaaS solution for brands. Some of the clients being L'Oreal and others. And on the other hand, really fantastic side, which is Yakar helps 500 underprivileged kids in Dakar in Senegal through sport and education. And after a first collaborative project with Nike in 2021, they're currently building a school which will open in the summer of 2022. That's really fantastic. And Yakar aims to create the first humanitarian brand. That's really awesome. Great. We have Harsh who's jumped in as well. That's fantastic. So we have all our panelists here. Just give me 1 second. Harsh is the head investor relations strategic alliances of R Ventures, a serial entrepreneur himself of 13 years of experience, corporate background in media advertising, and expertise in startup curation, fundraising, mentoring, initiated and led India's largest venture partner program. He's part of the Meet over 40 founders and reviews 25 pitch decks a month. That should be interesting. And he's helped raise funds for startups from multiple industries, from seed round to Series B. Again, has multiple hats as mentor, advisor of different venture funds in Singapore, US, etc. It's great. This panel, from the looks of it and what you guys have heard, is a very diverse one, and really welcome all of you here. I'm going to stop talking because you guys need to give us your insights on the future of global sports, technology, innovation, and inclusion. The idea behind this talk is really to find, where are we headed? In which direction from an exclusion and inclusion perspective? What are the sort of barriers? And of course, some of you may not have worked in India, but we'll try and keep, your experiences sort of at the forefront of this. Maybe we can start with Jaya, just from a player perspective. Giving you've spent so many years as a professional, and talking about the current scenario in sport, and maybe talking about technology innovation. Really, what are the entry barriers that we currently see in sport, and of course, being a huge somebody from the women's side of sport, tell us a little bit about your experiences and what where do you see things headed, and we can take the conversation in a particular direction from there.
So yeah, hi everyone. I'm glad to be, one of the panelists here, and it's a great topic to discuss. And it's been 28 years in, playing from at the grassroots, then moved on to playing for India. I think it was a huge experience for me, and then I decided to go and pursue my education in sports management, and I did it from IIM Rohtak after 18 years. So because I feel that we lack sports administrators, the true administrators, the players who should be there, because they have seen everything in and out. They know what has to be done. They know, they have seen everything. They have experienced everything on ground, what a player needs. Because if we talk about a sports industry, it's the main stakeholder are players. I believe that. And we truly miss that, because in our country, most of the sports administrators, are bureaucrats or politicians. So I felt that, this space has to be filled. And that's why I pursued my sports management. And it has given me a huge edge in terms of, I can understand the business side of sports, that is sports industry we talk about. And at the same time, I know what a player at the ground level needs. So I think I can now give the best of the both worlds to the sporting industry. And so it's been, if I have to talk about women's cricket, when we started, it was at a very nascent stage, I would say. We were not under the BCCI, that is Board of Control of Cricket in India. And we struggled a lot. We struggled a lot. Just to share that we traveled in unreserved compartments in trains. We, used to live in dormitories, and we used to play on fields that were not suitable for athletes. So we have seen that, but I'm really glad. I'm really happy that women's cricket has reached uh, to a certain level, but it has not reached to a pinnacle, I would say. But thanks to the association, thanks to BCCI that they have given us, they have shown um, trust in us. And I think if you have seen Women's Cricket World Cup, just which was recently concluded, it has reached somewhere. I mean, we can put ourselves in a world map, and India is one of the giants. So, and but in 2005, when we reached to the final, nobody knew us. Not in back in India, nobody knew us that we were playing World Cup for the country, and we beat it. We beat uh, New Zealand. That was defending champions in semi-finals, but we never knew that we could win the finals as well. So that's why it took me towards researching in the field of mind conditioning, because I feel that it is a very integral part of sports person. Because if you're sound with your mind, you can apply anything. And that's why I have a company that's called Sculpting Mentors. And it is a company which we provide trainings, and I'm the brand ambassador for them for providing mind conditioning training in sports. But unfortunately, not many people understand this concept in India. But I'm trying to find a way that we can do something, and I'm on it. And on the technology part, I'm the VP of a company called Cricket, and they have produced technology in box cricket. Basically, it shows you everything. There's a software which records everything. It clears a leaderboard. And I think for women's cricket as well, to develop their skills, box cricket is something we need at the moment. So this is my experience till now, and I'm trying to form a foundation that can work on grassroots, because I feel that's a in the sporting ecosystem, that's a huge loophole in our country, because not many people give their time on grassroots. But for me, being an India player, no India player wants to go to the grassroots and work. But I'm really keen about going to the grassroots, because if I have to bring a talent pool up, then I think it is the way forward. So this is my future venture that I'm working on. So yeah, this was me.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Jaya. This is a perfect segue. I want to segue to you, Pranav. I mean, one is you've done. I mean, you're a lawyer, but done your PG in sports management and invested in multiple companies, but also have sports companies in that portfolio. Want to talk a little bit about some of the innovative companies and maybe technologies that you have sort of seen currently in the space, and do you think in Jaya mentioned, 2005. I mean, they did well, but nobody really knew. Of course, that back then there was less social media. There's not, and very difficult to sort of communicate. You couldn't interact with players one on one on the likes of Instagram. So very different time. But now, again, there's a lot going on, right? So does that? I mean, at the professional or even at the grassroots level, is this technology become a barrier, or is it something that's going to actually open up things for us?
Yeah.
Going forward.
Firstly, thank you so much for having me. And sort of just adding to what Jaya said earlier, I think it's the performances of your generation which led to the performances of the future generation looking up to you, which is now getting noticed, right? Nothing happens by chance. It's about being there at the right place at the right time, which, it reminds me of probably my journey into this space, which my first ever investment, and I come from a family office of 70 years, right? We're conservative old school. My first ever investment was in an IoT hardware gaming company, right? There weren't even an Internet of Things was still becoming a thing in India when we sort of invested and worked with, and I first worked with the team. They built an AI chessboard, right? It was basically, if you think of what you see in Harry Potter, you take out some of the audio and the rest sort of working along, creating technology that actually drives innovation and learning, right? And that was my first tryst or my first experience in the space. And I think there's going to be more of it. For me, innovators like that will always lead the way forward in charting different paths, right? Cricket in India has been immensely successful, right? But how much innovation have we seen from a technology standpoint in India, right? Whereas when you look at certain other sports, I think data has just been the driver of everything, right? Professional sport today runs on data. Data can only be driven and accelerated through deploying technology in different ways and shapes of form, right? From our own myopic standpoint, we run which is the fifth tier of Indian football. We run a football club in India, and one of the first things that we did, we actually ensured that we started collecting player data and player performance data, right? Because the only way for us to try and make the leap forward was to be able to analyze what we do. So in the most simplistic form, data collection through technology is necessary, is absolutely almost a no-brainer. But I think it's the championing of the innovators that's even more necessary, right? And I think associations have begun to see the value in that. Teams, most definitely. I mean, if you look at the ISL, if you look at even sort of tiers sort of below that, I think there has been a need for deployment of technology, whether it be player performance, whether it be fan engagement, whether it be sort of stadium experience engagement. I think it's a very broad stroke to brush one, will technology sort of drive the sort of innovation, or will innovation drive the growth in sport? I think they go hand in hand, right? And one can't really necessarily coexist without the other. How many people may have said Usain Bolt would have run as fast as he did 20, 30 years ago, right? Or any athletes before that. There's a reason people are getting better. Obviously, there's physical evolution, there's better training, but all of it is also stemming from quality data collection, which is being applied in the right way.
Amazing. Harsh, you want to ride on that a little bit, because I know you've had the experience of also dealing with companies, I mean, investments, and seeing sort of a trend, over the past decade in terms of where sort of innovation and technology is moving, and how you can sort of see that segue similar to what sort of Pranav mentioned in sport.
Yeah, I mean, Pranav was actually bang on when how technology has really evolved. But unfortunately, the startup ecosystem works very similarly to how I think we have seen the Indian women cricket team, right? I mean, only once they won the World Cup and people started understanding and recognizing their efforts, and that's how I think is happened with the Indian ecosystem as well. Only when we have seen major exits, we have seen startups going public, is when I think angel investors have warmed up to the idea of investing in Indian startups. Uh, because of that, someone is who's investing for the first time might not venture out completely into a foray which is not very well known, right? So that's why they'll end up investing in technology, and technology in sports is not very, I would say, mature concept in India. We've all the startups which you've seen have done really well in technology are either working in cricket or internationally. You will rarely see any, collaboration which is happening. I mean, we have seen some fantastic startups, but I've seen they couldn't do well because the lack of awareness was a big problem, right? So a new one startup was working on mapping data for how runners can enhance their stamina as well as performance using technology. So it was a mix of devices put in the shoes to shirt. It was a fantastic product, but he could not sustain that in India, so he had to move to Israel. There, I think he got funded, and the whole team had to move to Israel. That I think that is working out well for them. But someone who's doing innovation, let's say in cricket, right? So that automatically what happens, getting eyeballs in cricket is much easier. I mean, even today, if you see, likes of IPL, most of the presenting sponsors, I think more than 80-90% are startups, right? I mean, we don't have typical old brands coming and presenting sponsor for an IPL event, because the funding directly goes to cricket. That happens, which is a good thing, I'm saying, because that's a good start. But other sports as a whole also needs to be looked largely. But we are very happy to see transition happening from not typical tech related sports deal to overall deals, right? So we've recently funded a startup which was into nutrition for young athletes. Now that's a very niche category, right? Someone who's in 15-year-old but has already a vision of becoming an athlete at 16, 18, doing international events. So what nutrition he or she should take, right? So it maps the data, maps their performance, maps what he intakes at that age. And I think that's again very niche, but he got funded in less than 6 months after getting starting his operations. So that's a very good story to have, because then that gives a lot of hope to other entrepreneurs as well in that sector to develop something in that. So good, it's definitely changed as compared to, I think, pre-pandemic. 2019 was people who still running around doing tech deals, and someone's already trying to close a deal, I'll jump in the deal. But now people are open to idea of, let's say, let me try some risky investments and figure it out. Let's see what happens. And I think that's quite interesting.
Interesting. Thanks, Harsh. Maureen, if I may jump to you, I want to we'll come back to sort of the tech side and innovation side, because I would want to, I think, move between topics. More on, tell us a little bit about sort of the Tony Parker Academy and what you guys do, and tell us a little bit about your role as well.
Well, thank you first for having me here. Well, the Tony Parker Academy opened in 2019, and our mission is to accompany our academy students towards finding their life projects based on their passion. I know the word passion is not probably the most appropriate, and the French translation to it in English, and especially in the Indian context, I know it can be a bit tricky to understand, but basically it's like when you have a hobby in your life and it becomes like a goal for you to progress in it, and making sure that you can try and go as far as you can in this. In our case, we have different types of practices. We have basketball, esports, and soon to be open, we have chess. And basically, we have 107 students now after 3 years of experience now dealing with those students, making sure they can have a balance between their passion, their practice, their studies, and that they can have also support towards employability. And so we built a concept around that is based on those three pillars. And basically, we make sure that they can practice every day in the best possible conditions. So if I take the example of basketball, it means having 3 to 4 hours of practice a day, mixed with if you're a high school student, for example. So let's say you're 15, you come to the academy, you can practice 3 to 4 hours of basketball a day, and you can have you can follow your French high school curriculum, but completely adjusted to those constraints. So it means having 4 hours of school per day, which in general is about more to 7 hours a day in France, which means that you can have a real balance, still respecting the French curriculum and being prepared for your final exam in the same time frame, all based on campus in Lyon, France. And at the same time as having a program all around it with dedicated weeks all along the year. For example, next week is a theme week. So it's a dedicated week where they still continue training, but they don't have school because it's holidays. But instead of going home and chilling and having having complete free time, we still keep them an extra week, so we can implement a program, a theme week, with like companies visits, conferences. We organize some student clubs in which they can engage and try and have projects as well. And why did we do all this? It's basically because Tony Parker had a really, as Ashley said, is a basketball legend. He had a really incredible career in basketball, but he knows then this is not going to be the case for all the kids who practice basketball, even at a really good level. Actually, we know that about 95% of our kids, I would say even more, are not going to be professional in their practice. And so we have the mission to make sure that they can pursue it as far as it can go. They can achieve their best level. But if they don't make it as a professional, which is probably going to be what's going to happen, they're not going to be professional for most of them, then we can still make sure that they continue the study, they have a good academic level, and we create strong links with companies to include them during the whole process, so that they can also start thinking, okay, what could I do then after with all the skills that I got through my passion, through my practice? What can I do with that? And what could be my life project professionally? And keeping the balance as long as they can between their practice, their studies, and in the meantime, trying to really think of a project for themselves. So this is our mission. And at the same time, we still have some elite students who are going to make it. And we are also capable of accompanying them. And for example, this year, we have one of our students, Zachary Rizaché, is a basketball player. He's already playing in EuroLeague, which is like the European NBA equivalent, if I can say. And he's 17. He's still in our high school, and it's incredible how, thanks to all that adjusted for him, he can still keep a balance and make sure to perform as much as possible. And yeah, this is really what we try and do in Lyon. And in 2 years for the Olympic Games, we have the project of opening a new academy in Paris with other passions, always based on the same concepts, because we believe that what we've created then can still be applied to other practices. Who knows, maybe one day cricket, but in this case, for now, it's basketball, esports, and chess too.
If I may ask, is the program or is the academy at this point just focused in France, or do you guys are looking to sort of expand to, country like India or other parts of the world as well?
Well, for now, we have only a campus in Lyon, in France. As I was saying, it's the 3rd year only, and we had COVID, so it didn't really help for international expansion. We are willing to have also international students coming. That's why we have a partnership with EM Lyon Business School. But with COVID, once again, it was not the easiest time of the to develop that. We'll see as well how we do for our next project in Paris. But we also have some international projects, but more related to care and foundations. One in Angola. We have a girl from Angola who's studying with us for a year and a half now. And there we are supporting projects related to feminine basketball. Making sure that Tony Parker is really engaged towards gender equality, and so we are trying there to implement some projects so that there can be more things done to support young girls and women practicing their sports.
No, excellent, and that's a key part of sort of inclusion as well. Jonathan, I'll leave it up to you to maybe introduce both organizations and maybe tell us a little bit of more in detail about Yakar and how that sort of idea came about and where you guys are headed.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, first, thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure for me to talk about Yakar. And yes, Yaka is a foundation I've created 2 years ago, and the purpose of the association is to help kids through football and education. And also another big goal of the foundation is to change the way young generations see humanitarian project. Because if you think about that, you can think about UNICEF or a huge organization that they are not very clear for young generation. And also, to me, the goal is to say, look, if you use social media to promote what we do with the Yakar Association, we can touch the younger generation. So the first mission we did was to distribute 500 football jersey to kids in Dakar, but it was not like simple the football jersey. It was jersey made for those kids with a lot of messages on it. And I've done that project with Nike because I've before launching my company, I was working at Nike, so they helped me to do the project. And so 1 year ago, we went to Dakar and we distribute the jersey. And we also did a documentary about the impact on sports, on the kids, on the parents, but also on the teachers. Because what you guys have to know is like in Senegal, sport is not only a way to escape from poverty. It's for kids a real way to, just escape their mind in a day-to-day basis. For the parents, when they know that their kids are playing football, they know that they are not in the street like doing shit, actually. And for the teachers, and that's what is the most important thing to me, for the teachers, football is the only way to create like complicity with the kids. Because when they are in school, it's very hard for them to create links with the kids because the room are very tiny. There are a lot of kids, so a lot of noise, and that's very difficult. But when they go on the pitch with the kids, this is the time when they create links. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, I want to promote that. I want to do a documentary so people in the world can see it. So when we distributed jersey one year ago, we also did that documentary, like I said, and we launched the documentary last February. So not that one, but in 2021, and it was a huge success because beIN Sport promoted it and a lot of media, and we also sold the jersey online. Because like I told you, I wanted to touch and to reach the younger generation. So I wanted young kids and young people to buy the jersey, the exact same jersey that the kids had in Dakar, so they can also wear it and be proud of and wear it. And it was not like a white jersey. It was something like I told you with a lot of messages. So you can wear it when you go play football, when you go running, when you want to dress on the street. And so we sold the jersey, and so we raised money. And with that money, we are now building a brand new school for the 500 kids to give them a better place to educate and to have a better life condition. And the next mission, because I'm still thinking about the next step. The next step will go again, and that time to build a pitch, football pitch for the kids. And again, that time it won't be just a simple pitch. It will be a pitch with messages on it. So I want kids, when they go playing football, they always see a hope messages, something that they can, write in their mind that everything is possible in their mind. And if you, just to finish that, if you want to have a look about what Yaka do, you just have to go on Instagram and put Yaka project, and you will see beautiful photos, beautiful video, and the documentary and everything we've done in the past months.
Amazing. I know you're a tech entrepreneur yourself. So the passion for sport comes from, you've were playing when you were young, or do you still play, or what's your favorite sport, if I may ask?
Yeah. I'm playing football or soccer, if you want to say that, since I'm very young. So I wanted to promote that passion in a project that have a sense, So today I'm very happy that my passion has no a concrete project that helped 500 kids. And just to finish on that, the way we help kids through football and through selling good product is a very good model, I think, that we can be able to replicate in the coming years in other countries. But no, I really want to focus on the 500 kids in Senegal, because I don't want the association to, you know, just help one time the kids, bring jersey, and then bye-bye, we go to another country. I prefer to focus time, energy, money on those 500 kids, to follow them, and then we will go to other country in the coming years.
Awesome. Hopefully India soon.
Exactly.
Jaya, I want to jump to you. Maureen mentioned gender equality and stuff that they are working on, and Jonathan's also mentioned, well, documentary, essentially media, right? Creating content around and using again different mediums and technology to really spread the message that they wanted to do that, and they've used organizations like Nike and others. Where do you think? Is there a gap in the current system from a cricket sort of point of view, and where do you think India sort of can focus on to bridge that gap? Is it hosting maybe global events, or actually, on the other hand, hosting much smaller sort of local events and building a culture locally and creating stories there? And again, it could be both, but yeah, just wanted to understand your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think particularly in cricket, we have only one institution that is providing job for women cricketers, is Railways. So there we have, the biggest loophole if we are not able to lift a title on the global level. That is because there is a concentration of talent with one company, that's one institution, and most of the India players, not most, 90% India players are with Railways, and the whole system, the whole ecosystem, it's focused there. So what happens with the state teams? There is a huge vacuum, because there's not that competition which has to be there, because everybody is employed with Railways. So what I am trying to do here is, I'm trying to go to different organizations and institutions, PSUs, to at least what happens with the, because see, sustaining a life in women's sport is difficult, still difficult. Although people are more open towards it, but still I would say it's more difficult than a men to pursue sports than being a female. But we have seen in Olympics also that a lot of female athletes have bring laurels to the country. But again, so we always give prizes after we have won some medals, but that is not needed. What is needed is to openly go out and support on the grassroots, provide them basic, what they can have to fulfill their needs, to get good training, and then maybe because that will give them opportunity to go out and fight to put India on the world map. And I can tell you, because it's been 28 years in this fraternity, and let me tell you, I've not started with cricket. I've started with football. I've played football at the age of 12, and I've played hockey. So I have seen the sporting ecosystem, and it is really tough. But I think the need of the hour is to work on the grassroots and provide them what they need at the grassroots, and there's no scarcity of talent. And that's why I'm looking forward to bring this foundation to cover three verticals. That is, one is sports, definitely. Second is education, and the third is employment, because many people don't have that. And being on this panel and having so many investors on it, I would really urge that this is the sport we can bring many things for India. And as we all know that cricket is a second religion in the country. So I would urge, I'm really glad to be on this panel. I would urge that please invest, Please focus on the grassroots. We can do wonders.
Thank you, Jaya. Harsh, I want to jump to you and kind of move back to maybe the tech side of things. We are seeing, I mean, Jonathan mentioned kind of documentary, which essentially is content. You talk about like shows like Drive to Survive, which have sort of taken F1 to a very different level now, and different sort of technologies even on ground, AR, VR. We talk about and things that are being implemented to a lot of mature markets like the US, Europe, UK. Does that is that going to bring or sort of bridge a bigger gap with say countries like India, you think, or is it might be easier to sort of implement in a country like India? Um, just based on your experience and some of the companies that you've sort of had to deal with, do you feel there's more opportunity here, or it's going to be tougher for us to game?
Um, it's a very good question. In fact, very relevant to what we saw recently. So last month, we were in Dubai for a metaverse conference and crypto conference. Um, majority of the startups I think were based in the Middle East, US, and Europe. That's I think where the disruption in metaverse and digitizing the whole interface has happened. We are way behind, right? So I mean, we are just. I think the Bharat, which we call the rural India, is just warming up to the idea of buying things online, right? And the majority about, I mean, they were claiming more than 30% of the youth in the mature buying states in US, more than 40% are buying high-end brands online through metaverse, right? So for us to reach that level, it's going to take a lot of time. But I think it's also a big cultural thing for us, where where playing is an activity outside home, which itself needs a lot of, I would say, a natural transition for us, right? So the generation before this, I'm sure there was a stipulated time to for us to play and do things at certain time, which obviously has changed to devices. But there is, like I said, there's some of the startups which are working towards how do we make it more interactive, right? So even if they're using devices, we still have to make sure they go out and play. That there's some technology which will help them to be more active, even being on devices. So if you ask me purely in terms of metaverse, I'm not sure if it's going to take a lot of time for us to reach that level. But trust me, there's been a lot of research and even funding happened through grants from the government, or also internationally, people have invested in Indian startup, which ensures that even if children today are transitioning to the next phase of using technology, or in sports also, they also need to be very active, which I think is a very biggest, I would say, a thin line. Because if you add too much of technology, you forget where sports ends and gaming starts, right? So that's why it was so difficult for us to even we had a very big conclave by Ahmedabad. I think that was last year December. So gaming and sports is actually two different things, right? But people think if I'm developing the next Dream 11, I'm disrupting sports. That's absolutely wrong. I mean, you just it's a convenient way of raising funds, but that's not disruption. How do you make sure that people go out and play? So rather than that, there's one startup called Playo. I think we also raised one round for them. Playo is interesting because it talks about, hey, I want to play badminton today, but I don't know who's going to play badminton in my area. Now that use of technology was interesting because it helped the ecosystem to grow for casual playing, right? So the amateurs want to try badminton, tennis, basketball. That has really grown well. But again, we need, I would say, hundreds of players today than a Dream 11, because Dream 11 will just kill the whole purpose of sports. That's my idea.
Pranav, I know you want to add to that, but I'm just going to jump to Maureen for a second here. And just, I mean, we're talking about screen time and keeping kids healthy. And how do you guys manage that? I mean, at the end of the day, how do you keep them, I mean, not distracted with from screens?
Well, that's a very good question. Because yeah, it's true that now it's harder and harder, and it's also like a way for them to expose their performance and what they're doing. And yeah, we all have these new challenges. Well, at the academy, first of all, they have really busy schedules, so I think it really helps because when you're in class, you can have access to your phone, and then you move straight to practice, and you don't have access to your phone, and then you go for lunch, and then you go again to classes, and then you go again to practice, and then you have like studies time. So basically, the only moment they have really full access to their phones with time to use them is at night, and it's also normal. It's the new generation, so they need it, and we don't have the will to completely forbid it. It would be a bit stupid from us. So what we do instead is that we limit it. So using we have a curfew at 10:30. So for all the under 18 students, we consider that at 10:30 they have to be in bed because it's busy days. And so at 10:15 they have to give back their phones for the night, and they only get it back in the morning for breakfast, so that at least we maximize the chances that they don't like stay on the phone all night. And yeah, some of them try to give a fake phone, but we quickly notice we know all the tricks now. So but it's also done in a way that during the year we also try to do like we've done last year an event regarding like sensitization on those topics, to try and also explain to them. For example, we have a workshop coming next month on e-reputation and how to manage your image online, and also like how to make sure that you don't like put stuff online that then you'll regret having put, because the day you're going to look for a job, your employer is going to check you for you online and might find them. Or trying to explain those things a bit more. But we must admit that the challenges are high, and the new social medias as well, like are also different from the one we used. Or so like everything is going faster. And for me, my main concern is always harassment, online harassment, to make sure that this doesn't happen for our kids, or if it does, that then we get to react very quick. And so far we're managing quite well. So like we hope that it continues being okay for them. But this is a real concern, and this is something that I think every schools have to take seriously, every parents as well, because this can really have an impact on them. Not only the screen time, but I think really the fact that if something wrong happens online, then it still continues after the day. And this is something we need to be really careful of.
Well, thanks for that, and some tips for any parents listening as well. Pranav, back to you in terms of more the mature market conversation and about sort of tech and
Yeah.
again, is that gap dividing, or can you, or do you think we will be able to sort of catch up? And like, I mean, you've invested in companies like you mentioned, the chessboard guys, where I mean, currently, obviously, I would think their primary market isn't India, it's elsewhere. So how do we bridge the gap here? How do we find
So
the right tech?
firstly, I would definitely like to say, why can't we build from India for the rest of the world? What's the problem with that? Just because India is a huge market doesn't mean we can't have innovators. I think that kind of thinking is one of the reasons we're stifling our own growth, right? I think it's important to remember that technology is an enabler. Technology enables you to do things in a more efficient manner. But there is obviously a certain amount of raw skill that is prevalent before you start using technology, or raw sort of ability. I think what we need to realize is that India is an ecosystem, right? If you take a 4-stage ecosystem in technology, from analog to digital to automated to autonomous, right? The 4 stages of sort of technology, right? India, to a large extent, is still in the first bucket, right? Forget from a consumer, forget from a builder, forget from anything. We're still moving to the digitization era, right? So for companies today to solve problems that perhaps don't exist is the reason they don't raise capital, right? And I also, I mean, I'm just adding to what Harsh is saying, or sort of maybe disagreeing to a certain amount. I genuinely believe that fundraising is not to be celebrated. Exits are to be celebrated. If you make an investor money, fantastic, right? It doesn't matter how many deals I mean, we've done probably assisted a whole bunch of companies ourselves. But for me, I tell every founder we work with, the day you give me a return on my capital is the day you look good in my portfolio, right? And today, with an independent portfolio of over now touching almost 50 coming to this part of this year, our focus is not on billion-dollar companies. It's always on sustainability and building good quality companies and products that become businesses, right? Everybody can build a good product, but if you can't turn a good product into a quality business that's workable, that's sustainable, that has quality unit economics, this has the ability to operate in certain areas, you're going to struggle, right? And that's something that's just part and parcel of understanding how the ecosystem is going to evolve. One of the key things to remember from India investment and across this entire sector, Dream 11 is the outlier, right? Dream 11 is not the norm, is not going to be the norm, right? There are probably 3 companies in totality that have raised even 40% of the capital that Dream alone has raised, right? But that does not speak of the other companies' ability or lack thereof. And it doesn't speak of Dream's ability or lack or their ability to do anything. It's market dynamics and what's resulting in how you sort of generate momentum, right? They were at the right place at the right time, the right people doing the right stuff, right? And the numbers were making sense. Look at them. They're running a profitable business. I say more power to them in setting up. They set up a $250 million fund, right? To sort of say we're going to give back, right? And which is why I say for us, what's critical is what we call patient and relevant capital across sport, gaming, esports in India, right? And I bundle all of them under the same umbrella because why shouldn't digital sport or esport be categorized with physical sport, right? Do you use your mind or different elements of your mind or your fingers or your ability to react or have the kind of right reflexes? I think that's the mindset shift that needs to come where India says, hey, you know what, we're going to go and we're going to have the best esports rosters in the country. We're going to have great gamers emerge from this nation. We're going to have game developers and game publishing studios, right? For PUBG to come into India and set up India-specific servers was a huge shift, right? It was an identification of the fact that India exists as a consumer market. I think it's time for Indian innovators to look at it that way as well, right? It's not a market that you just look to monetize. It's a market you look to create long-term engagement. Because the one thing that Indian consumers are not is loyal, right? They're not. They are the most fickle consumers in the world, right? Price wins all in the consumer market, right? Experience is starting to catch up to a large extent, right? People are now understanding engagement and loyalty to brands. So even from an innovator, from an investor, we run something called Think Sport. Anybody guys in your network who you'd sort of be happy to sort of engage. For us, it's about the right kind of capital for the right kind of spaces because we're also operators, right? Anybody with money can write you a check, but can they bring value to your business? So all tech builders in the country, I always sort of reiterate that to them. And that doesn't mean that we're the right capital either. But it's important to have that sort of general mindset shift that we're going from analog to digital to automated to autonomous, right? And we need to be critically aware of where we need to be building value more than anything else.
Superb, Pranav. I love that. We do need a mindset shift. There's no two ways about it. Why can't India build for the world? Well, it can, of course, and we need to really.
And sorry, I'm just going to jump into one thing. It's a strange statistic that we always look at. Somebody spoke of the IPL. I think Jaya mentioned IPL or Harsh mentioned IPL and advertisements and lots of startups advertising and stuff like that. I think the key thing to see is outside of the top 3 companies, right, or the largest 3 companies that are sponsoring the IPL, right, which are the large brands. How many of the companies come back to the next IPL? Look at that, right? If we want to talk about value, if we want to talk about loyalty, I think it's incredible for people to assume that the IPL gives, and I've had portfolio companies that have taken shockers. We fall into that trap. I'm not saying that it's not something that doesn't seem obvious, but I think that's the more critical thing to see, right? The IPL gives you eyeballs, doesn't give you conversions. Does the pro kabaddi league give you better conversions, right? Does the pro volleyball league that just happened give you better conversions, right? Or is it the ISL? I think it's that not painting everything with that one brushstroke of India looks like this or the Indian consumer looks like this, because I think India as a modern nation is changing. Consumers are changing, habits are changing, purchasing power is changing, right? And micro community engagements are important.
Amazing. With that, we are close to the end of this discussion. What I'm going to do is just throw it to all of you. I need 30-second, one-liner, to Indian startups or organizations working in sport, anything related to technology, innovation, or any advice. 30 seconds. Pranav, you can go first.
I always say this: consumer is the cheapest form of financing. Don't chase money. If you can find a consumer and they can finance your initial journey, your first 100 consumers, the investors will come looking for you. As a family office that's been around for 70 years, I promise you, every capitalist is looking for the right investment opportunity. Focus on business fundamentals and don't chase money. Chase the consumer.
Jonathan?
Yeah, I would say that invest in content people that will do good quality content to promote your project. Put money on people that can do video, photo, that know how to use social media, and trust me, you will reach your consumer, as Pranav said.
Jaya?
I think I just, from a player's perspective, I would like to say to all that invest in dreams and dreams come true.
Amazing. Harsh?
Yeah, I always believe that you should not. Unfortunately, it happens that everyone invests in one industry and one stream. But investing in higher, I would say, dreamy and risky projects is also important. But dreaming something which is going to be unrealistic, or investing in basics of sports, is something which India needs, and I think we are having that, and just expecting more and more brands and personalities to support that. I think that will really be a game changer.
Maureen?
I would say that passion is a strength. This is our motto, and so if you get to hire, look into this part of the profile you hire as well, and make sure that the people who work for you are passionate.
Amazing. Thank you so much, and sending us in the direction to dream. Thank you, Odisha. Thank you, Fiki. Thank you, all the organizers, for this fantastic show and bringing us such a wonderful panel and amazing insights. Appreciate you guys taking the time out on a Saturday evening. Please enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a good one. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us, guys.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Take
Thank
care.
you for
All.
Thank you.
having me.
Bye.